This is the latest provocation coming in from Canada with the state broadcaster. The CBC has invited India Beta and Khalistani sympathizer Gurpatwant Singh Pannun, the head of Sikhs for Justice. Who are learning is that the state broadcaster, so clearly an open provocation coming in from the Trudeau government, the state broadcaster, which is CBC, has invited Pannun to talk about various matters relating to Canada. And remember, Pannun will only use this platform to spew his communal venom. Siddharth, so it just doesn't get more clearer than this. The fact that a state broadcaster is calling an openly pro-Khalistani supporter a declared terrorist onto its platform, giving him a platform to target not just India but Indians across the world, including in Canada as well as the United States.
Now, look at the state of affair, Ayushman. You know, somebody who is backed by ISI, somebody who is pushed by ISI, and the funds funded by ISI is now being given platform by the state broadcaster in Canada. Perhaps, I'm sure that like in India, a state broadcaster must be coming under their communications and information department. Now on one end, where the CSIS director is claiming that the Khalistani groups are being backed and by ISI and Pakistan's involvement. On the other end, the same people are being given platform by the state broadcaster. Now, doesn't it expose the hypocrisy of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau? And on one end you're bashing India, on the other end you are hand in gloves with what Pakistanis are doing, what China is doing in your country. You still don't have any response to the Chinese influence during the last Canadian elections. What has your government done on that front? What has your government done on the Pakistan influence in Canada when it comes to pushing the Khalistani groups? So, it's kind of a, there are a set of people and this narrative suits them. And, in fact, I was speaking to a journalist based in Ottawa, and he was telling this to me that, his advisors, his managers are come from that mindset, and perhaps they have invested too much in Mr. Trudeau in terms of money, logistical support, etc. Now they are running the show the way they want to run the show, and that's the biggest reason that he is being driven by those people, and there are a lot of vested interest involved of many corporate houses, etc., in doing this and bashing India and etc. And Mr. Trudeau is kind of a puppet in their hands. So that is what he told me. I don't know. I completely don't agree to what he said. But that is the scenario, because there's no transparency. There's no kind of. If Mr. Trudeau is so much concerned about his country, then if he's fine. If he had to say something against India or Indian involvement, that's fine. But he should also speak against Pakistan. He should also speak against China. Why Chinese fentanyl money laundering network is mushrooming in Canada? Why Mr. Trudeau's police is not acting against that network? It's billions of dollars of fentanyl money is being flown through Canadian route. Why no action against them? So it definitely raises questions.
Right, but at the same time, Siddharth, this is clearly the same kind of cycle of violence that Pakistan also went through by giving platforms and giving some sense of legitimacy to terror elements on its own soil. And we can see the state of affairs inside Pakistan. Same thing happening in Canada over here. Giving a platform to a Khalistani terrorist is one thing, but also ignoring the entire criminal antecedents of pro-Khalistani voices, including Pannun, also ignoring the criminal enterprises of pro-Khalistani elements inside Canada just for the sake of vote bank politics, just so that your government can stay afloat. This, while it has short-term political gain, it has a long-term damage to the nation of Canada.
Well, absolutely, Ayushman. It has got a long-term damage, and even if they are thinking about putting sanction on India, now, tell me, Ayushman, to the best of understanding you have of the foreign policy, that a growing economy, which is the world's market, which is turning out to be the world's industry in the years to come, how can a developed country put sanction on that country? You will be ending up damaging your own trade, your own businesses. So, but for the sake of his own domestic politics, to consolidate his position, he has completely ignoring the ramification on the foreign policy front. He's completely ignoring everything. All he's doing is lobbying with UK, US, and perhaps trying to put pressure on India so that India cooperate in the investigation. But India is cooperating with the investigation. India has never said that we will not look into the evidence you have. All you have to do is to share something credible, something authentic with India, which perhaps, as you claim, has links with the diplomats or whatever Indian agents.
Right. Siddhant, please stay with us. I'm joined by Rabinder Sachdev, foreign affairs expert on the broadcast. Thank you, Mr. Sachdev, for joining us on CNN News 18. How do you see this move coming in from Canada, where a state broadcaster is giving a platform to a Khalistani terrorist, a declared Khalistani terrorist? Has Canada crossed the line whenever they pitch those liberal values of freedom of speech? Because that's the argument that they are making.
No, definitely, what it shows is that Canada is ratcheting up. It's playing hard. And my thesis is that Trudeau is doing all of this, or he started to do this, the Niger affair in public, because he wanted to distract attention from his own failings on China Gate. There's an inquiry ongoing in Canada on 2019-21 election interferences by China, which was pushed under the carpet by the Canadian intelligence, and Trudeau was in power. That information details leaked out last year in 23, came out in media, and if you remember, the first time he made allegations about Niger, that was just one day before, or actually on the same date, that the Globe and Mail carried the story about how the Trudeau administration had been negligent in pursuing the Chinese lead. My thesis is that, sure, he has been playing vote bank politics. We all know since 18 or whenever, right? But the trigger for him to go more aggressive against India was to divert attention from the China Gate scandal. Now, once he did it, perhaps he did not realize that, it can blow up into such a severe, situation. But that's why he did it, to distract attention within his own country from China and to say that, look here, I'm very strong against foreign influences. I'm protecting our national security. And here, look, this is what India is doing. So he amplified India and, in a way, made India a scapegoat in order to deflect attention from his own failings with regards to China. That's my thesis one. Secondly, yes. Now, what this is happening is certainly, yes, it seems ratcheting up of the Canadian perspectives, and I do, in fact, expect more of this to happen. I expect that, he's already talking to the Five Eyes, that they're saying, he already had a phone call with Starmer of the UK, and he's saying that they're talking to the US, Australia, all five of those. So one can expect to see more of this escalating in the coming days.
Right, but Mr. Sachdev, two questions primarily. Are we underestimating the political mobility of the Khalistani cause inside Canada, given the influence of such elements in around 25 parliamentary seats? That is a huge chunk of seats in any Canadian national election. Secondly, do you sense that these Khalistani elements are being used as non-state actors by Western interests to target India?
To the second point, yes, I think to a certain point that is happening. Coming back to your first point, I think that's a very, very deep point. There's a narrative that if Trudeau goes, everything will be hunky-dory in Canada-India relations. I doubt it. Okay, even if Trudeau goes tomorrow or within the next 6 months, right, the Conservatives who will come to power, and that goes to your question exactly, this has become a systemic issue in Canada. People who sympathize with Khalistan, plus extremists, plus others, are spread out across various parliamentary constituencies, which even the Conservatives are wooing. Just to tell you an example, after the Niger killing, there was a discussion in the Canadian Parliament in that week, remember, of September. The deputy leader of the Conservatives, the Conservative leader is this guy here, right? They have two deputy leaders in the Parliament. One is a lady, another is a guy, Tim Uppal.